Right, you're most welcome at David Seven Sons Theater. Yeah, today we're going to talk about speech, right? And in speech, yeah, David Seven Sons Theater at gmail.com. You can contact us from there. We always have good presentations. Okay, all about science. So, uh, if look at this, don't forget that that is our poster, but and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more and better videos. Okay, we are going to first talk about the development of speech. How does speech develop in a baby or in an infant? It involves coordinated activity of three important areas of the cerebral cortex, namely the Wernicke's area, that is 22, Broca's area, that is 44, and motor area of the categorical or dominant hemisphere. So those three areas of the cortex are very important in development of speech. How does it occur in a child? It occurs in two stages. And the first stage involves association of certain words with visual, tactile, auditory, or other sensations. That is what the baby does at first. There is association. Yes, it associates certain words with what it sees, touches, or hears. Okay? The second stage involves the establishment of new neuronal circuits. When a definite meaning has been attached to a certain word, there is a pathway which is created between area 41, what you can call auditory area, and motor area for the muscles of articulation, which is area 44. Therefore, if they establish that connection, the child will attempt to formulate and pronounce the words which are learnt. Right, so those are the two stages. They are very important. Two, let's talk about the types. We have spoken and written speech. And spoken speech involves understanding of spoken words as well as expressing ideas in form of spoken words. That is spoken. Then in written, you understand written words and you express ideas in form of written words. Recall we said speech involves understanding and expression. So in spoken, that is what occurs. Okay. So physiology of speech involves understanding of speech and expression of speech. All right, let's continue. Let's talk about understanding of speech. It is accomplished by 1. Hearing of spoken words, which requires an intact auditory pathway from the ears to the primary auditory areas. Okay, it requires an intact. Should not have a lesion, should not be damaged. All right, that is Broadman areas 41 and 42, and this form the center for hearing in the middle of superior temporal gyrus. All right, superior temporal gyrus. You know, the cortex of brain has a lot of gyri. So in the superior temporal, somewhere here, that's where we can have the Broadman area 41 and 42 in the middle or center. So functions, this area perceives the nerve impulses as sound. What am I meaning by sound? You can talk about auditory information such as loudness, pitch, the source of that information, and the direction of the sound. Okay, let's continue. This has been a hearing of the spoken words. That is the first step in understanding spoken speech. You must hear them. And when you hear them, the impulses will go to 41 and 42. The second stage is recognition and understanding of the spoken words by the auditory association areas, which is 21 and 22, located in the middle and inferior temporal gyri, respectively. Okay? So 21 is in the middle, 20 is in the inferior temporal gyri. So the temporal gyrus is measured for audition. All right? So we have recognition and understanding in association areas. These areas receive impulses from primary area, which was 41 and 42, and are concerned with interpretation of and integration of auditory impulse. Interpretation and integration of auditory impulses in the association areas. The third step in understanding of spoken speech, you must interpret and comprehend speech ideas by the Wernicke area, that is 22, in the posterior part of superior temporal gyrus, behind the areas 41 and 42 in the categorical hemisphere. So this is a very good point. Yeah, in the other non-categorical hemisphere, there's also an area which is homology of Wernicke's area. But Wernicke's area, we shall always base majorly on the categorical or dominant hemisphere. All right, so here we have interpretation and comprehension of spoken speech in the Wernicke's area behind or in the posterior part of the superior temporal gyrus. The functions of this Wernicke's area: one, it interprets meaning of what is heard. What you hear is interpreted here. All right. Comprehension of spoken language and formation of ideas that are being articulated in speech. Okay. So comprehension of the spoken language. Have interpretation and comprehension. That is Wernicke's area 22. Let's continue. That is being understanding spoken speech. So how do you understand written speech? One, we will have perceive these words, which requires an interactive visual. You use eyes to primary visual cortex, that is striate area 17 on the medial surface of occipital lobe. Occipital lobe, basically that will be visual cortex. All right. So afferents to area 17 are fibers of optic radiations which bring impulses from parts of both retina, and these parts are represented within the area in a specific orderly manner. This is a good point to take note of. Specific orderly manner. We have optic radiations going to area 17. Okay, optic radiations arise from the thalamus. Okay, so functions. The primary visual cortex is concerned with perception of visual impulses. It perceives, just perception. Let's continue. Second, in understanding written speech, you must interpret this, and it requires area 18 and 19 in the walls and in front of lunate sulcus, and these are concerned with interpreting written words. Yes, area 18 and 19 are association areas of visual impulses. All right, these areas are involved in recognition and identification of the written words in the light of past experience. Oh, in the light of past experience. Good. Let's continue. 3. You must generate thoughts or ideas in response to written speech. And this involves the degerine area 39, located in the angular gyrus, behind the Wernicke's area in dominant hemisphere. So basically we have to generate the ideas in response to written speech, and that is done by the degerine area 39, not Wernicke. Okay. And this area is involved in activity of generation of thoughts or ideas in response to written speech. And if you add the gerine area plus Wernicke's area, you get what we can call the sensory speech center. So speech center involves both 39 and the 22. All right. So look at this. We can have Broca's area here. We can have Wernicke's area here in the superior temporal gyrus. Okay. Now this is what we call the arcuate fasciculus, and this is the angular gyrus. So in the angular gyrus is where you can find the area 39, the gerine area. All right. How do you express speech. So let's start with expression of spoken speech. This involves activities of motor area, which is Broca's area 44 in the inferior frontal gyrus. Inferior frontal gyrus, that is area 44. And especially in the dominant hemisphere, processes the information received from sensory speech centers into a detailed and coordinated pattern of vocalization. So, which is then projected by accurate fasciculus to the motor cortex for implementation. Okay, so that is the Broca. Let's continue. And therefore, Broca's area is concerned with the movement of those structures which are responsible for articulation and production of voice. Therefore, it causes activation of vocal cords simultaneously with movements of mouth and tongue during speech. So lesions of the Broca's area will cause motor aphasia. We saw this in the recent video about speech disorders. Okay? So how do you express speech in form of written form? In the written form. So this is a function of Exner's area. Motor writing center. Okay? Exner's area. This is found in the middle frontal gyrus, in the categorical hemisphere, in the premotor cortex. Alright. Processes the information received from Broca's area into detailed and coordinated pattern. So it receives from Broca's area. Broca's received from Wernicke and from the germ. Okay? So then, along with motor cortex, area 4 initiates the appropriate muscle movements of the hand and fingers produce written speech. Hand and fingers. Alright. Let's talk about the concept of dominant hemisphere for language. Okay, this is always asked. Look at this. In the human cerebral cortex, ability to understand or express oneself by spoken or written speech are more highly developed in one hemisphere, and this is what we call the dominant hemisphere. Highly developed in only one hemisphere. So note this. In 95% of individuals, the left hemisphere is dominant regardless of handedness. Yes, even if the guy is left-handed, you will find that the dominant hemisphere is also left. So that is a high chance, okay? Since the motor area concerned with the hand movements is closely associated with the center for speech, this explains the right-handedness in over 90% of the individuals. Okay? 90% of individuals use right hand because the motor area is closely associated with the center of speech. Let's continue. The right hemisphere dominance is seen only in 15% of left-handers. Just 15%, you can imagine. Okay? And 70% of left-handers also have left hemisphere dominance. Okay? So you can see this does not coordinate. The guy using left hand, it would be better. You would expect him to be having dominance of the right. But in 70%, those left-handed people will be having left hemisphere dominance. So the area in the non-dominant hemisphere that corresponds to the Wernicke's area is also involved in language function. It is responsible for understanding of emotional content and intonation of spoken language. Alright, so you can see this. I talked about a region in the non-dominant hemisphere which corresponds to Wernicke's area. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share these videos. They are good. They are very good. They are very good, right? They are very good. It's better join and enjoy. Alright.